Previously, if someone had access to FQM or list app, they had access to everything, to all entity types. So they were able to use our list app to run queries and so on without any specific permissions. Now we changed that logic. So the user who does not have access to entity types cannot use our list app. Now I'm going to show you some examples here. I have already created a new user here, and my user does not have any permission. And I will add just list app permission. And let's see how it will work. Okay, list, save and close. Now I will go to my other user page. You can see here we have list app, and if I open it, I see this message. You don't have the required permissions to use the list app. And this makes sense because we have access, okay, to list app, but we don't have any permissions for entity types. Now, if I go back and if I add some other permissions, for instance, inventory permission, let's see that. Inventory, I will choose this one, all permissions. This permission will allow me to access to items, instances, and holdings entity types. Now I will refresh the page. And okay, as you can see, I am on the list landing page. I have access here. And if I click on this record types drop down, I have these holdings, instances, and items entity types. And also I have already some lists here. I can create a new list using any of these entity types. For now, I selected holdings. Holding UUID is now empty. False, run query and save, and as you can see, everything is fine. Now, if I go back and if I remove list app permission, and let's see, I have only inventory permission. Now I will open my user again and will refresh the page. And as you can see, list app disappeared from this part. I have only inventory application app here, and I have this text. You don't have permission to view this app and record. And this also makes sense because if we pay attention to the URL, I'm trying to access to list app, but it's not possible without any permission. Composite entity types are built by combining the other entity types together. So in the Ramsons, we have almost the same entity types that we had in Cosnelia, but we modified all of the field names and some of the operator names. For demonstrating our changes, I'm going to use this snapshot environment and I will use QBugFast environment so we can compare some data. I will open the query builder for items entity type and just pay attention to the field names. You can see field names are really simple and the amount is not big. And now I will do the same here on snapshot environment. Again, I will select items entity type and pay attention to the field names, and you can see amount is also big. Here we have prefix holdings. It means all these fields which have prefix holdings we get from holdings entity type. If prefix is instances, then it means all these fields we get from instances entity type. If I select loans entity type, for instance, again, the same, some fields we get from holdings entity type, from instances, from items, from users, and I can select any of the fields and I can run queries without any problem, any issue. You can see it returns some amount of the records. Again, here, if I select loans entity type and if I check the field names, you can see fields have simple name and amount is really limited. As I said, we updated not only the field names, but also some of the operator names. And probably here you will have questions, what will happen with the lists which have Q version after the Ramsons release. We have already implemented like fix or strategy for that. So everything will build right with all those lists. And I have prepared some lists here. These lists, both of them, initially they had Q version, but after upgrading to R version, we have some changes, some updates in the list details page. You can see here, I don't have any query. I have zero records amount, and here we have some text in the description section. It says, this list was modified as part of a module upgrade on January 7 and produced the following warning. Field instance primary contributor is no longer supported in your query. As I said, we updated some fields and we removed some of them. For instance, in this query, instance primary contributor is no longer supported. That's why this query section is empty. And it says, like your original query was this one. And if I come here as well, I have similar like text information, but this operator is no longer supported. As you can see here, I had problem with field name, and in this list, my problem was operator name. For your information, we in this release we removed not equal operator from UUID fields. I selected this one, user UUID. If I open the operator, you can see we don't have not equal to operator. And if I open the Q version, just random ID field, I will select instance UUID. You can see here we have this not equal operator. So if I create a list after in the Ramsons, this list will have this description. I cannot refresh this list because query is wrong and I will have meaningful task message here, unable to complete action, but still I can edit the list. I can open the query builder. It's empty, which makes sense. And I can just modify the query. For instance, I can run something like this. And it already returns some value. I can run query and save the data.